Well, good morning, everybody. This is Judy Feldhausen, and I am so happy to be joined today by my good friend, Bob Wischmeier. Good morning, Bob.
Yeah, thank you, Judy. Good morning to you as well, and to everyone on the webinar with us this morning. We're changing gears a little bit here and diving into some thoughts, some information that it's inspiring. I think is the right word for me. I've used Simon Sinek's thoughts and principles and concepts for many years, really, Judy, and so it's going to be fun to be able to do this. I love this first slide that you put up here.
Yes, this slide, I actually went to Simon Sinek's website, and right on the front of the website, this is where I got this from. This was not in the book, but imagine here what. If this would be true, the website says we imagine a world in which the vast majority of people wake up inspired, feel safe wherever they are, and end the day fulfilled by the work they do.
I love that. That's a powerful affirmation. You know, something else that he shares in this particular book, you guys, statement, and I'll just share it with you. He says, I hope to inspire others in the things that inspire them, so that together we may build the companies, the economy, and a world in which trust and loyalty are the norm and not the exception. I hope that too. I hope for that as well.
Absolutely. And what we're doing with this book, because it's not quite in chapters, like the other one is. Today we're going to talk about really what is in the introduction and kind of about the why of the why, and then we'll go into the different parts of the book and take it that way. So this book will not take quite as long as some of our other books that took a year. This will probably only take something like 4 months, right, Bob?
Something like that, yeah. And it's there was so much information though just in the introduction that we determined to do a webinar this morning, just predicated on the introduction pages in and of themselves, Judy.
Yes, and Simon Sinek says that the discovery of his why really completely changed his view of the world and really restored his passion to multiple times over. And so he is sharing what it is and really how to find it, and how to share it, how to pass it on. Because as a leader, if you are knowing exactly what inspires you and you can share that to what inspires others and be able to lead others in that effort, it's going to make a difference for not only you, but your teams too.
Exactly. Another thought that I wanted to share just briefly, I don't know how many of you are note takers. Some of us take notes, some people don't take notes. But one of the things I've discovered about note taking is that often when I look back on my notes at the conclusion of a presentation, the notes that I've taken aren't necessarily or specifically the words that have been expressed by the people talking to me. Oftentimes it's the inspired little thoughts that I've written down that are based on what I've learned or what I've heard during the presentation. So keep that in mind as we go through this. If something comes to your conscious thinking as we're sharing our thoughts, jot those things down. They're personal things that will have an effect. And through the course of these presentations, be thinking not only of your personal life, but of your Synergy business, because this isn't set up just to talk about Synergy worldwide. This is a kind of a life experience, I think, working with Simon Sinek. So anyway, Judy.
Absolutely. And so this this book is really, Simon says it's actually a cause of action. So when you start working with the things that we're going to be talking about, we want you to live in this power and to really take it to heart.
That's exactly right. And I think that you want to think about what that means, a cause of action. In other words, why are we doing what we're doing?
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of the things I just absolutely loved this slide, because this slide actually, reminded me of exactly what it says here: trust and loyalty. These two people are going toward one another, reaching for one another. They're blindfolded. This is really the epitome of trust and loyalty.
Well, it is. Think of people who, the trapeze artists at the circus or whatever, they have total, complete trust in the other individual on the other swinging bar or whatever that. Maybe it's the same with children. When we have our little ones, and we toss them up in the air and they're laughing and giggling and they're big smiles on their face, they know that dad is going to catch them, right? They know that we're going to be there for them, that we're not going to just let them hit the ground. Trust and loyalty, it's huge, it's significant, and especially it's significant today in the world that we live in. That's my opinion anyway, Judy.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, that's kind of what great leaders do, right? They inspire that trust and loyalty into their team, into their families, into the people that they meet, and those people that are able to inspire. It's not about receiving an award, and we're going to talk a little bit about that later. But it's it's about doing things because there's a reason behind it, an inspiration, a motivation, an act that's really deeply personal.
It is. When I was watching or reading this and studying through this, I had two competing thoughts that came to my conscious thinking with respect to that kind of loyalty that you see, the trust and loyalty you see in that little picture. There have been individuals in my life who I think I probably would have walked through fire for because of the inspiration and the loyalty that I felt to certain individuals. There have been other people I wouldn't walk across the street for, and for the same reasons, in a way. There's a huge difference, and we don't run into people every day who inspire us enough that we feel like we would do anything for them, literally anything. Just even to be around them is a joyful experience. Trust and loyalty is huge. And again, when we look at the condition, the situation that we're in our country right now, these are precious gifts.
We wanted to talk about a couple of the stories that are in this introduction that really did a comparison of action and dedication versus passion and inspiration.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We're looking at these two guys here, the Wright brothers, and I don't think there's anyone, well, I guess I don't know about the educational system today per se, but for us growing up, we all know about the Wright brothers. Everybody knows about the Wright brothers, But how many of us know who Samuel Pierpont Langley was? There's a question for you, Judy.
Yeah. So raise, if you know how to raise your hand, if you go to your participant section, you can actually raise your hand. If you know who Jason Pierpont Langley is, raise your hand, because I did not know this story, but it really affected me when I started thinking about the government and the money that they spent. And Bob, did you want to share the story?
Yeah, it's so interesting. It's actually Samuel Pierpont Langley, but he was a smart guy. He really was. He was a smart guy. He had all kinds of connections in the federal government. You know, these are guys that he put a team together with a $50,000 grant from the War Department to create, to build, to find the technology to create a flying machine. And he put together a great team of brilliant guys, PhDs, engineers, etc., in order to find a way to build a flying machine. But on December 17, 1903, these two guys here who had a bicycle shop and threw together a bunch of buddies of theirs, none of them with college educations or degrees in engineering or anything else, just absolutely inspired by this thought of creating a flying machine. They flew for the very first time, 1903, December 17th. There's a huge, significant difference here. When Samuel Pierpont Langley put his team together, they were well funded, but the motivation was was based on finances and degrees, papers that they could publish, that kind of thing. Whereas the Wright brothers, their motivation, really their why for doing what they wanted to do, was based on passion and hard work, and this inspired little group of men and women who helped them to get that flying machine up in the air. And there is a stark difference. Everybody knows who the Wright brothers are, but who knows who Langley was? And he was a brilliant guy. He was a brilliant guy. They inspired their team and led them to develop this technology. It's a wonderful story, Judy, especially given the difference between these two groups of individuals and how it is and why it is that they were able to accomplish what they wanted to. Now, one last little caveat with that. As I was studying through this, I thought about inspiring people and create this kind of situation with the Wright brothers. And one of the individuals from Synergy Worldwide who immediately came to my mind was Jerry Bingham. And I don't know, probably a lot of you on the call don't really know who Jerry Bingham is. She's been pretty quiet. She got hurt. Anyway, she's a grandma, a little tiny lady, I think from Arizona, tiny little thing. And when she first started with Synergy Worldwide, her husband kind of made fun of her a little bit for doing this network marketing business with Synergy Worldwide. And she was we had a great big Synergy event one time years ago, and she was telling about that. And she's just this little granny, and she said, and now he works for me. It was the sweetest thing, coolest thing. But again, that little Jerry Bingham inspired so many people to join with her in her Synergy business, and she created a very good business. When she started Synergy, her hope was that she could make enough money to buy a new refrigerator. I'm not kidding. When she got hurt a few years ago and had to back away, she was hiking with her kids and fell off a little cliff and got hurt. But she had already bought a second home because of her income with Synergy Worldwide. Not only did she get a refrigerator, but she bought a cabin in Arizona there. An inspiring story, Judy. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And there really is a difference between doing things for the what and doing things for the why, and being inspiring. And this is another cute little not little story. I guess it's not a little story. This is the first Apple computer, and we all know we all know Apple now. I see Ted has a new iPad. It's an Apple product. There's lots of Apple products around the world, but back in the beginning, there was just two guys, really. And those two guys started with basically an idea and a cause to actually get computers into the hands of the individual, out of the hands of big businesses, into the hands of the individual, so that everyone had an equal playing field.
Yeah, Wozniak really, initially, he wasn't really motivated by finances or money. He just had that sense that, big companies can afford to have computers and computerize, can take care of their businesses with that kind of technology. But his vision was that people, normal, everyday people, could have a computer, could have this kind of technology and afford it in their own home. And with that thought process, his why, his motivation for doing it was based on, I don't know what the right word is, even helping people, giving everyone, leveling the playing field, if you will, for people. That was really the foundation, or his why for doing it. They figured out how to do it, and they figured out what they needed to do based on why they wanted to do it the way they did it. Get computers to everyone.
And in their first year, to me, this is amazing that in their first year, they made $1 million. How many of us have been in business for many years and have not made that million yet? But they were able to have revenues over $1 million. And in the second year, my gosh, they had a $10 million in sales.
Yeah. About that. And then what happened the next year, Judy?
What happened the next year, Bob?
I think it went up to 100 million, something like that.
Something like that. And now, and by doing things like, they talked about getting the computer into the hands of the regular person, and they were so smart to go into the schools and put it into the hands of the children.
I think they were just inspired to do all the right things, really, because they've Apple Computers sort of captured not just the computer world, but small electronics industry, music industry, mobile phone industry, the broader entertainment industries, all of those things. And they were all connected to the same initial thought process, and they've done a remarkable job. They employ literally thousands of people in their company and have blessed the world with their motivations and their technology. So yeah, again, a remarkable thing. There have been tons of other companies that have done similar things, but not to the same degree that Apple has. So really, an inspiring story.
Absolutely. Because when you think of it, and this is a percentage from the book, that 80% of Americans don't have their dream job. And I was just reading yesterday that I think this book is working, because the percentages that I heard yesterday were that only 70% of Americans don't have their dream job. So,
we'll take that 10% any day, won't we?
Especially if it's one of us, right?
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Oh, Alexa's talking to me. She said she didn't catch that, Judy.
Oh my gosh, and she's answering on my end too, so.
That's great.
See what inspiration can do.
Oh gosh, there's Apple Computer for you.
Yes.
Anyway.
But so the people that have their dream jobs, who are they, and what is their family life like? They tend to be happier. They go home happier. Their family life is happier. They treat each other better at work. They tend to want to find a solution, and I believe that if as a team, if the team knows the why of something, that their focus is on how to achieve that, not how to get the egos in the way and whose idea is better, and getting that internal fighting going on.
Yeah. There's another side of this to you guys, and I think all of you can understand that. We talk in our business, we're in the health and wellness industry, we are, and we talk about elite health or holistic health. And when I think about holistic health, it means more to me than just those 4 pillars of health, diet, exercise, supplementation, and sleep. It means more than that to me. It means holistic health means being at peace with the world that you live in. It means ending the day on a strong note, a happy note, a peaceful note. It means being able, like for Bonnie and I, the other night, we have a giant black walnut tree just west of our farmhouse, great giant limbs on it. And under one of those giant limbs, we have a swinging, like a swing, a big swing that we can sit in. We sat out there the other night just to watch the sunset. It dropped behind one of the neighbors over to the west of us behind their farm. It was beautiful. When you can end your day sitting in the swing, watching the sunset with peace in your heart and mind and soul, you've accomplished something. And holistic health is a major part of being enjoying, if you will, holistic health. To be able to go home happier, be happier in your family, your business, etc. It all ties in, you guys, and it's significant, I think. Judy, are you still there?
It is significant, and
so your audio's a little messed up. You still
yeah. So my internet is unstable.
there? You're better now, though. That sounded better.
Okay, awesome. So I was going to say, when you have that internal knowing of why you're doing something, and what your passion is, it makes a difference to that whole circle of life that we talk about when we talk about the 4 pillars of health, but also faith, family, finances, fitness. That whole section, it bleeds over, so to speak, into all the areas of our life when we have a bigger purpose that we can fall back on.
That's so true. So true, Judy. Thank you.
And so, when we start with why, really, there's certain things that happen, and we are going to be delving into those things in future sessions. But things naturally occur that we think a certain way, we act, we communicate with others in a certain way. Things that work better. They're amplified, and you tend to be able to ask the questions that are going to get to the ultimate goal, and the ultimate goal is always tied to your why.
It is. I think sometimes when we begin a project, we begin a new business or anything new in our lives, we have this, our behavior, if you will, is going to be affected by the assumptions or perceived truths that we begin with. If we start out with our little business, or if we start out with whatever it is that we're going to do or plan to do or want to do, and our thought process is not correct, if it's slightly canted, it doesn't matter how many good decisions you make or right decisions you make. If you start out wrong, if you start out on the wrong road, you're not going to get where you want to go. That's why having, understanding why it is that you want to do what it is that you're going to do is so significant. I've worked in the youth programs with the Boy Scouts of America, with young men, young women, young adults for decades. I've been involved in helping young people, and oftentimes they would say to me, well, Bob, we want to do this and we want to do that, and putting together different activities, if you will. And I would say to the kids, okay, well, I understand what you want to do, and we can figure out how to do it. That's not a problem. But why do you want to do that? It's not wrong. I'm just wondering, why do you want to do that? And it would force those young people to stop and think it through a little bit. Well, is there a purpose behind it? Just have fun? That's great. But what is the purpose? Why do you want to do the things that you're talking about doing? Because we can figure out how to do it later, as long as we're starting from the right perspective. We're starting on the right road to begin with. It's really significant again, as I said before. Judy?
Yes. So so I'm going to mute myself here, I think, for a moment, Bob.
Okay.
Because there's an echo.
Yeah, you're sounding better actually right now. But this is a wonderful slide. I love that. All inspiring leaders think and act and communicate exactly alike. Excuse me. There's some significance there as well. Judy, do you still have Dr. Martin Luther King slide in here? I
don't think so.
Yeah, that's okay. It's not a problem. But one of the stories that Simon Sinek brought to our attention was the story of the life of Dr. Martin Luther King, who's an absolute hero to so many of us in the world. Those of us who paid close attention to him, he inspired people. Recognizing that what we needed in America was a lasting change, not a Band-Aid, but a lasting change. And he simply united people with a single vision. I love that. He inspired people to think, act, communicate. He had a dream. And that dream started with an understanding of why he wanted to move people the way that he did, and totally inspired so many of us across the world. Especially across America, I guess. Anyway, inspiring leaders, they do think, act, and communicate alike. They just do. There's a great book by Jim Collins called Good to Great. And I'm not sure how many of you have had the opportunity to read Jim Collins' book, but we would suggest that you do that as well. He talks about how you can have a good company, but there's a difference between a good company and a great company. It has to do really with beginning with why, beginning with the end in mind, and the things that you do to grow your company from just being good to absolutely being great. And it's about leadership. It's totally about leadership, Judy.
It certainly is. And when I first read this sentence, I'm thinking, how can that be? How can everybody think, act, and communicate exactly alike? And I think that's the beauty of the next part of this book, because it's not about the right that we have, but it's what's coming from within. And we're going to talk in the next few weeks, not only how to find your own why, so that you can be inspired, but how to help others find their why, and help how to inspire others on your team, because that's going to make success. If you are a synergy distributor, when you have a strong team and you can communicate with them, you can help them find their goals, their why. It's going to make all of us stronger.
It's that duplication process that we talk about in our company. I wrote down or typed out a statement that Simon Sinek makes in his book, and I wanted to read it to you just quickly. He said, "Great leaders are able to inspire people to act. Those who are able to inspire give people a sense of purpose or belonging that has little to do with any external incentive or benefit to be gained. those who truly lead are able to create a following of people who act not because they were swayed, but because they were inspired. For those who are inspired, the motivation to act is deeply personal, not because they have to, but because they want to. Judy?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. You're good. We're kind of back and forth with your internet. It's not a problem though. It's looking good.
Okay, well, so that's what we wanted to share with everyone today about the act of starting with why and the importance of that ability to get to the place at the beginning so that we can be happier in the journey when we get to the goal, because it's not just the goal. It really is living a full and not balanced, but a full and inspired life.
Yeah, you guys, I was thinking of Stephen Covey when he talks about, beginning with the end in mind, and it's that same thing. And just briefly, one of the stories that Simon Sinek shares in his book is about a group of American auto executives who went to Japan to watch the assembly of some of the Japanese cars that were coming on the market. There was a time when GM led the industry for automotive, for cars and trucks and whatnot. That's simply not the case any longer. But in the, like at the GM plants, when those cars would come through, there were guys at the end of the line who used rubber mallets to tap the doors to get the doors in place to align properly. They'd put the door on, they would tap them with rubber mallets and get them to line up just right, Well, when they went to Japan and were on those assembly lines with the Japanese automakers, there weren't any guys at the end tapping those doors, aligning them up with the rubber mallets. And the American car maker executives were quite interested in that. They're like, what's the deal? Why don't you have anybody there doing that? And the Japanese executive says, we make sure it fits when we design it. They don't need anybody there with a rubber mallet. They built the design so that they wouldn't need to have that kind of team of men at the end of every row tapping those doors into place. Well, that's what we're getting at here, is that design your business, set up your business, placement, sponsoring, all of those kinds of things properly to begin with, and beginning with the end in mind, starting with your why, and you'll have a lot better business. I so wish that we'd have understood some of these principles when I first started with Synergy Worldwide. I would have set up my matrix completely different than I did. I just didn't know. But today we know. So we're way farther ahead, Synergy Worldwide today, than we were 10 years ago. Judy, thank you so much for your wonderful slide presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. It's always a pleasure being with you. And so do we have any questions or comments before we say goodbye today?
Just to thank you, Judy and Bob. I'm looking forward to the next couple of presentations. Excellent.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're sure welcome. It's a great book. Great book.
Yeah, this is Dewey. I just downloaded the Audible book, so I have a chance to read it, and looking forward to going through this with you guys. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Judy. As well
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Hello,
And,
Dewey. Dewey, good hearing you.
Okay.
yes, Dewey.
Thanks. Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Bob and Judy, for bringing this back alive for me, because I remember when we first did this in our small group, and what it did, it opened so much. In fact, it introduced me to Simon Sinek, and
Wow.
I've read a number of his other works, and it will be, as Dan said, great to go back through this book with a wider
Awesome.
audience. So I kind of look forward to it as well, and hopefully I'll be able to share some of the stuff I've learned by simply reading and using this book in my life. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Donald.
Yes.
And you can go to his website too, Judy. You want to tell him the website?
Yeah, so the website is justhisname.com, simonsinek.com. And there's a lot of good information and updated information because this book is, a few years old. And so he continues to work on this. And the message is really getting across. So this week alone, I was on 2 webinars that talked about why. And this morning, I got an email from someone who actually is having another webinar about how to look for your passion and use your passion in your business. And this is a guy who actually helps people do TED Talks. So it should be a great webinar. But the message is out. The message of why it's not just a book. It really is becoming a way of life for people. And it's been proven over and over. So our wish for you is that you embrace this and get the book, look at the website, and really start looking at some of the things that we'll be sharing and put them in your own life to see if they work for you, because you're not going to know unless you try.
That's exactly right. And one last thing, guys, as we're closing up, just for what it's worth, our dear friend, Betsy Bartlett, is not doing well right now. She's got some health issues that are significant. So if you would all keep her in your thoughts and prayers, we'd appreciate it. We love Betsy. She's up in Michigan. And, I've been close friends with her for a long time, and I've never met her in person. But I love her dearly. And she could use some positive energy, some thoughtful prayer. So thank you for doing that. And
Yes.
Judy, that's it for me.
Awesome. Any last minute questions before we say goodbye?
Just thank you again.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, Donald.
Yeah, you're definitely welcome, Donald. Okay, so thank you so much for being on today. And thank you, Dan, for putting up Zoom for us. We appreciate the ability to meet every Saturday morning. And we're going to have a great lineup for the month of September. Just look at your newsletter to see all the things that we've got scheduled.
They're all posted up on the Global Health Makeover website as well, under the calendar there. So check it out. Thanks, guys. See you later.